Hello students, good morning. Today I am going to start chapter 10 History, King Merchants and Pilgrims. The student, this is a part 3rd video of this chapter. Now already we have studied about the power of Gupta's dynasty. After Gupta dynasty, when the later Gupta rulers were declined because they were weak, wars of succession and invasions from the Huns resulted in the gradual decline of the Gupta Empire. The empire split up, but Gupta rulers continued to rule Magad in a minor capacity until 720. Students, after the Gupta Empire, it is also known as the post Gupta period. With the decline of the Gupta dynasty, small kingdoms arose in North India. Harsha was the prominent one among them. The Chalukyas ruled in the Deccan while the Pallavas were powerful in the south. Now we are going to study about the Harshvardhan. Harshvardhan from 606 to 647 CE. The breakup of the Gupta's empire resulted in a period of disorder. Small kingdoms fought against one another. Finally, Harshvardhan conquered these kingdoms and established a powerful empire with his capital at Kannauj. Students, Harshvardhan belonged to the Pushyabhuti dynasty of Taneshwar, and during his 41-year rule, he established a powerful empire extending from Nepal, Kashmir, Punjab to Narmada in the south. Students, Harsha did not annex all the territories that he conquered. Some of the defeated kings continued to rule over their kingdoms as subordinate rulers. They accepted Harsha as their overlord and paid him a yearly tribute. During wars, they also supplied him with money and soldiers. Harsha established diplomatic relations with China. He tried to expand his kingdom beyond the river Narmada in the Deccan, but he was not successful as Pulakeshin II, the Chalukya king of Vatapi or Badami of northern Karnataka, stopped him. Sources Sources give us information. In sources, we can see the two chief sources of information about Harshvardhana are the Harsha Charita, the biography of Harsha written by Bhana Bhatt, and the Siyuki, the record of the Western world written by Hien Shang. The Harsha Charita is Harshvardhana biography which lists his military and cultural achievements. Hien Shang was a Chinese traveler who visited India, and his book describes Harshvardhana rule and society. Other sources give us information, that is, rock cut temples of Ajanta, brick temple in Kanpur, Devghar and Jhansi, etc. Then Prashasti of Samudragupta at Allahabad and Pulakeshin II at Ahihol. Then large number of coins made of metals such as gold, copper and lead and issued by the Gupta emperors, Harshvardhana and other rulers of this period. Numerous architecture remains, sculptures created in different styles, murals, cave paintings, copper plate, inscripting and various other artifacts found at different sites. Account left by foreign travelers such as Faiyan and Hien Shang give us information about this period, about Harshvardhana dynasty. Now military campaign. In the early 7th century CE, Harshvardhana became the ruler of Taneshwar. He succeeded his brother Rajavardhana. Soon after acquiring power, Harsha united the kingdom of Taneshwar and Kannauj. He made Kannauj his capital. This was done to control the empire in a better way and also to control northwestern borders. where the Huns had been posing a threat to the center. Kannauj was relatively safe from foreign invasions. The Ganting plain could also be better supervised from here. After shifting his capital, Harshvardhana conquered Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, and Odisha. Friendly relations with maintained with the rulers of Assam and Gujarat. The Huns were a Central Asian tribal people who attacked India many times between the 5th century and 6th century, until they settled down in the north and northwest, establishing their own kingdom. According to some historians, they might have been a group of Kushans. Their assimilation into the Indian population suggests that they were accepted as a lost Indian tribe. They were probably Shaivas, worshippers of Lord Shiva. The capital of Harsha Empire was Kannauj. Harsha conquered Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, and whole of the Gangetic Plain. He attacked to conquer the Chalukyan king Pulakeshin II but was defeated. Harsha did not annex the territories that he conquered. Nalanda University. Harsha was a patron of art and learning. He was an accomplished playwright himself. He wrote three plays in Sanskrit: Ratnavali, Priyadarshika, and Nagananda. Banabhat was a famous scholar in the court of Harsha. He wrote Harsha Charita and Kadambari. There were other scholars in Harsha court such as Subandhu, Mayurbatra, etc. Harsha patronized the famous Nalanda University, which was set up earlier during the Gupta period. He also gave financial support to this ancient seat of learning. As a result of Harsha patronage, Nalanda prospered and became a famous center of learning. A scholar named Hien Sang visited India in 630 CE. Out of the 15 years that he spent in India, Hien Sang stayed for 8 years at the court of Harsha. He also visited the court of the Chalukya king Pulakeshin II. He has left a detailed account of the events of those times. Society of Harshvardhan. According to Hien Sang, people were simple, honest, and hospitable. The rich people lived in big, well decorated houses, while the poor had simple mud houses. People lived peacefully. Most people were vegetarian, and the use of onion and garlic was avoided. The caste system was very rigid. People were divided into numerous castes and subcastes. The untouchables were treated badly by the upper caste and had to live outside the city. Traders and craftspersons lived in the towns. Marriage and eating outside the caste was prohibited. Sati system was prevalent at that time. There was no veil, it means parda system, but women's social status continued to decline. The main occupation of people was agriculture. They grew grains, pulses, fruits, and vegetables. Apart from farmers and peasants, other important groups of craftspersons were potters, goldsmiths, blacksmiths, carpenters, which were hereditary and caste based. Harsha administration. Harsha Vardhana administration was decentralized, like that of the Guptas. Local officials had the power to take administrative decisions. The administrative units were similar to those under the Guptas. The whole empire was divided into provinces. The provinces were divided into districts and the districts were further divided into villages. Each province was under a governor who was given land, grants instead of salary in cash. The chief source of income was land revenue. Craftsmen too had to pay taxes. Revenue officials were responsible for collecting land revenue at a rate of one-sixth of the produce. The money so collected was used to ensure good administration, maintain the army, and give grants and donations. However, trade and commerce did not flourish rapidly. A number of cities declined at this stage. Harsha had a powerful army that included the infantry, cavalry, elephants, and boats. Next is religion. Before embracing Buddhism, Harsha worshipped Shiva and Surya. He was tolerant towards other religions. He attended the Prague assembly in which religious discussions and debates were held for many days. At the Prague assembly, the Buddha, Surya, and Shiva were worshipped. At this assembly, Harsha gave donation to the Brahmins, Buddhists, the needy, and the poor. He also convened the fifth Buddhist council at Kannauj that lasted for 25 days. Harsha was a tolerant ruler. Though initially he was a worshipper of Shiva, he converted to Buddhism. He built monasteries and made efforts to spread Buddhism. After Harshvardhana's death in 647, his vast empire disintegrated as there was no heir to the throne. The smaller kingdoms asserted their independence. The two most important states that rose in the Deccan after the fall of Satavahanas were the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. After the death of Harshvardhana, the Chalukyas, they were the rulers of Karnataka area of the Deccan. The most famous Chalukya ruler was Pulakeshin II. His rule is said to be the greatest period in the history of Karnataka. He expanded his kingdom by annexing the entire Andhra kingdom. He was a contemporary of Harshvardhan, and he even defeated Harsha in his military expedition to the Deccan. Pulakeshin II also defeated the Pallava king Mahendravarman. Ravi Kriti, the court poet in Pulakeshin court, has thrown much light on the conquest of Pulakeshin in his Prahasti. Narasimhavarman, the son of Mahendravarman, defeated and killed Pulakeshin in 642 AD. Chalukyas again became strong under Vikramaditya I, the son of Pulakeshin. He took revenge of his father's defeat by defeating the Pallavas. Chalukya rule came to an end in AD 753 when Kirtivarman II, their last ruler, was defeated by the Rashtrakuta ruler Dantidurga. The capital of Chalukyas, Aihole, was an important center of trade and worship. The Chalukyas had trade with Arabia, Iran, and South Asian countries. Pulakeshin is said to have sent an ambassador to the court of King Khusrau of Iran. Beautiful temples dedicated to Shiva and Vishnu in Badami, Aihole, and Padakal, and monasteries built during this period to show their love and art and architecture. The temple built by them are richly decorated with scenes from Hindu mythology. Many of the fresco or the wall painting at Ajanta and Ellora were made under the patronage of the Chalukyan rulers. Though Chalukyas were Hindu kings, they tolerated other religions. During their rule, a large number of Zoroastrians came from Iran to India to escape from the Muslim invaders in their country. They came to be known as Parsis and settled along the west coast in the Deccan. Pallava dynasty. At the peak of its glory, the Pallavas ruled over most of the South India. Their capital was Kanchi near Chennai. The Pallavas founded their capital at Kanchipuram in the 4th century and dominated the northern part of the Tamil region till the end of 9th century CE. Mahendravarman and Narasimhavarman were the powerful rulers of their empire. Narasimhavarman first defeated Pulakeshin II and captured Vatapi. After this, he took the title of Vatapikonda or the conqueror of Vatapi. He also led successful expedition to Sri Lanka. Continued military conflicts weakened the Pallavas. Their rule was ended by the Cholas in the 9th century. The Pallavas notably extended their patronage to Dravidian architecture. They constructed the beautiful shore temple and the Rath of Mahabalipuram. They laid the foundation of classical Dravidian architecture. The Pallavas also encouraged Sanskrit language and its scholars, as also the Tamil language. Worship of Vishnu and Shiva was prevalent and singing saint Alvar and Nayanars roamed from place to place. The Alvars and Nayanars initiated the Bhakti movement in South India. Later on, this movement spread to North India. Account of Fayan and Henshan tell us a lot about the administrative system of this period. A king was the head of the administration and a council of ministers assisted him. The empire was divided into provinces or bhuktis and princes were often appointed as the governors of the provinces. They were assisted by many officers. The provinces were further divided into districts or vishyas. The ayuktas administered a district with the help of the district council. The village was the lowest administrative unit. It was looked after by the elders of the village. Revenue. Agriculture was the chief occupation of the people. Much of the revenue was generated from land. There were many revenue officers to collect the revenue. Merchants and craftspersons also paid taxes. The money so collected was used to secure good administration, give grant and donation, and maintain the army. The maintenance of the army, consisting of horse, elephants, chariots, and foot soldiers, required a lot of money. The new development which took place during this period were the administration was decentralized. Local officers were independent of central control. They took decisions on their own. In the region ruled by the Pallavas, there were two local assemblies, the Ur and the Sabha. There were also several subcommittees which looked after the routine matter of the village, such as digging well, making road, constructing temples, providing water to the field, etc. Some administrative positions became hereditary. The administrative officers were paid in land grant instead of cash. The officers were expected to collect revenue from this land. This made them even more independent. Okay, students, thank you.